Each night, I heard strange noises, not the usual snaps of twigs or rustles of small animals. These were deeper, more resonant. A soft, guttural cooing sound, almost like a large owl, but more human. I brushed it off. Mountain acoustics can play tricks on you. The second day, things got weirder. I'd leave my pack for a minute to scout the trail, and when I came back, something would be moved. My water bottles shifted to the other side, a granola bar wrapper neatly placed on a rock. I started feeling watched, not in a scary way. More like a curious presence was just out of sight, shadowing my every step. By the third morning, I was starting to feel a little spooked and decided to pack up and head back to the trailhead a day early. As I was breaking down my tent, I heard the cooing sound again, much closer this time. I froze, scanning the dense undergrowth. And then I saw him. Peeking from behind a massive Douglas fir was a pair of huge, dark, impossibly soulful eyes. He was small, maybe 3 feet tall, covered in shaggy, reddish-brown fur. His face was surprisingly human-like, with a flat nose and a wide, curious mouth. He wasn't a bear cub. He wasn't a monkey. He was ... a baby Bigfoot. My heart hammered in my chest. Every instinct screamed run, but I couldn't. He just looked so innocent and a little sad. He took a hesitant step forward, holding out a small, almost perfectly formed seashell. It was the kind you only find at the coast, hundreds of miles away. Where did he get that? He cooed again, a soft, questioning sound, and took another step. I didn't know what to do. I slowly packed the rest of my gear, my eyes never leaving him. He just watched, his head tilted. When I shouldered my pack and started walking, I expected him to retreat back into the forest. He didn't. He followed me. He kept a respectful distance, about 20 feet back, trotting along with a clumsy, endearing gait. When I stopped for water, he'd stop too, sitting on a log and watching me. I tried shooing him away. Go on, get back to your family. I'd say, waving my arms. He'd just blink his big, dark eyes and let out a soft, mournful whimper that absolutely shattered my heart. The hike back was the most surreal experience of my life. My little shadow followed me the entire way. We developed a weird, unspoken routine. I'd occasionally accidentally drop a few berries or a piece of my apple, and he'd scurry forward to gobble them up before falling back into formation. He was smart, and he was definitely alone. I never saw or heard any signs of a larger, adult Bigfoot. Was he lost? Abandoned? The questions swirled in my head. When I finally reached my truck at the trailhead, the moment of truth arrived. I couldn't take him with me. It was impossible. He was a wild creature. I opened the driver's side door and looked back at him. He was standing at the edge of the woods, his little face a mask of confusion and despair. He let out a series of frantic, pleading chirps. It sounded like he was begging me not to leave. My resolve crumbled. I couldn't just leave him there. I looked around. The parking lot was empty. On a complete impulse, I opened the passenger door. Okay, fine, I whispered. Get in. But this is temporary. Just until we figure this out? He seemed to understand. He cautiously climbed into the truck, curled up on the passenger seat, and immediately fell asleep, clutching that strange seashell to his chest. Getting him home was a covert operation. I threw a blanket over him and prayed I wouldn't get pulled over. My mind was racing. What had I done? How do you hide a baby Bigfoot? I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood. My neighbors, the Hendersons, know. Wait, that's a movie. My actual neighbors are the Millers, and they are definitely not equipped to handle this. I named him Ben. It just seemed to fit. For the first few days, Ben was a model house guest. He was fascinated by everything. The television, the refrigerator, the flushing toilet. It was all a source of endless wonder. He loved bananas and peanut butter, and he learned to use a spoon with surprising speed. He was also incredibly gentle. He'd sit with me on the couch, grooming my hair with his big, clumsy fingers, making those soft cooing sounds. It was a weirdly comforting gesture, but the honeymoon phase didn't last. A growing baby Bigfoot has needs, He started getting bigger and stronger. He'd rearranged the furniture when I was at work. He learned how to open the fridge and would help himself to the entire contents. One time, I came home to find him trying to give my cat a bath in the toilet. The cat was not pleased. My house was starting to look like a disaster zone, and it smelled faintly of damp fur and bananas. He was also lonely. I'd come home to find him sitting by the window, staring out at the woods behind my house, making that same heartbreaking, mournful sound he made at the trailhead. He missed his home. I was being selfish. I had taken this wild creature out of his element because I could unbear to see him sad, but keeping him here was making him even sadder. I knew what I had to do. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. The next weekend, I packed up the truck, a huge bag of bananas, and a very reluctant Ben. He knew. As we drove back up into the mountains, he was quiet, just staring out the window. I drove us back to the exact spot where I'd first seen him. We got out of the truck and walked a little ways into the forest. I knelt down and looked him in the eyes. "This is your home, Ben," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You have to stay here now. Your family's probably looking for you." He whimpered and clung to my leg, his whole body trembling. He wouldn't let go. I gently pried his fingers off, stood up, and started walking away without looking back. It felt like I was ripping my own heart out. I made it about 50 feet before I heard it. It wasn't Ben's little coo, it was a roar, a deep, earth-shaking roar that vibrated through the soles of my feet. I spun around, terrified. Standing behind Ben, so tall it blocked out the sun, was another Bigfoot, a full-grown, 10-foot-tall adult. It had to be his mother. She was massive, majestic, and staring right at me. I was paralyzed with fear, but she didn't move toward me. She just looked at me, then down at Ben. She let out a soft rumble, a much deeper version of Ben's coo. Ben looked at her, then back at me, then back at her. He ran to her and hugged her giant, furry leg. The mother creature rested a hand on Ben's head. Then she did something I will never, ever forget. She looked directly at me, and she nodded. Just a slow, deliberate nod. Acknowledgement. Gratitude. Then she turned, and with Ben trotting alongside her, they disappeared into the trees. I stood there for a long time, tears streaming down my face. I was sad, but I was also filled with this incredible sense of peace. He was home. He was safe. I never saw them again. But sometimes, when I'm hiking in those mountains, I'll leave a banana and a seashell on a log, and when I come back later, they're always gone. I know they're out there, and I know they remember. It was the strangest, most wonderful, and most impossible friendship of my life. Thanks for listening to my story. Be sure to subscribe for more strange tales from the wilderness.